2023 has been an amazing year for gaming handheld, and there's been so many releases coming out recently, and there's been so many amazing and less amazing handhelds that have released over the course of this year. And I thought I would just talk about, my 5 favorite handhelds. The list isn't arranged by quality or anything like that. They're just all in their own right really good devices, and they're just in order of from least favorite to most favorite. They're still amazing devices and solid choices. They're just maybe ones I prefer more than others. So jumping in right with number 5, the Retroid Pocket 2S. When this initially came out, I was really confused about where this would sit in terms of their product stack, where this would sit in terms of the rest of the emulation handhelds coming out. But it's not actually that dumb of a device. It has all of the performance and capabilities of the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, but in the older Retroid Pocket 2 body. And initially, I thought, well, that's kind of dumb, but changing my perspective on it, it's like the iPhone SE. It's the old body with a new chip in it. So this is just an excellent, reuse, of all of this old, stock that they had of all of these already ready-made housings and all these screens, buttons, and analog sticks and stuff, and repurposing it with the new internals of the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, giving people who want to either upgrade their current handheld or go buy a whole new device an entirely a more budget-oriented, more affordable option without having to sacrifice any of the performance gains over the brand new mainstream headlining device. And this thing could play just as many consoles as the 3 Plus, and it being able to mostly play GameCube games, sort of, PS2 games, sort of, which at $99 makes it the cheapest device on this list. And it's just amazing value. If you want to get into the retro emulation scene, this is a good jumping on point. The Retroid Pocket 2S is just great value for the money, and I highly recommend it if you're a newcomer into the scene and you want your first device to really start getting your hands dirty. It's a really easy device to get to know and get around and use. It runs Android. The buttons recognize as an Xbox controller instead of like a weird remapped, Nintendo controller. I always hate when companies do that. Ein does that with their controls. They have it set to like a Nintendo layout, even though it would all these emulators recognize Xbox controllers, and it natively in those applications switch to a Nintendo mapped controller. But going in with Ein's button maps, it's just real confusing sometimes. So I just make sure to turn that off whenever I use one of those devices. But tangent aside, the Retroid Pocket 2S is just a tremendous value and one of the devices I recommend the most. The second device I'm going to be talking about, oddly enough, is the Odin II, which is also just a tremendous leap forward in terms of performance. With the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 on the Odin II, you can play fucking PS2 games and, Switch games much better than the previous outgoing Odin model. And that leap of performance is just amazing. All these games run so much better. Not saying that these didn't run well already on the older outgoing model, which I think had a Snapdragon 845 in it. And that device could already play all these games really well. But this is such a good update. It includes now a 65 watt-hour fast charger. It has a 1080p touchscreen, 8,000 milliamp hour battery, comes with Android 13. This device is so much better. And at the $300 price point, it has 8 gigabytes of RAM and 120 gigabytes worth of storage, which is amazing. This device has the same power as some modern, high-end smartphones. And that's my usual, retort against these things, against devices like the Odin, is just buy an equivalent Android phone, which is something you were able to do for a very long time and get better performance compared against like the previous Odin. But this thing is bleeding edge fast. Like, it's incredibly difficult to get a phone with the 8 Gen 2 in it at a similar price point as the base Odin. So the sheer fact that this device is coming with the 8 Plus Gen 2, it's just leaps and bounds more powerful than anything else on the market at this price point in terms of a dedicated Android emulation device. It makes a solid case for being a number 4 and being, if you're more of the enthusiast gamer out there who wants the best handheld emulation experience, this is by far the best device you could probably get out right now. Number 3 is a device that has had, as of late, some really bad PR, and a lot of people are turning against it. The ROG Ally is by far probably my favorite PC handheld, but it has so many small drawbacks that really pull me away from it, from me saying it's my favorite portable handheld. The less than stellar non-extreme version of the ROG Ally, which is so cut down in terms of its performance, it makes it's very comparable to the Steamdeck, and it's at most $50 more expensive than the most expensive Steamdeck for the same performance. And at worst, if you get the $320 original base model currently available on Steam while supplies last, it is over $200, $300 more expensive to get the Z1 non-extreme version of the ROG Ally that offers very similar performance to the Steamdeck. So it's a little ludicrous that they're asking this much, and I truly believe that it's because they keep the same, overall housing, the same screen. If they offered the Z1 non-extreme chip in, let's say, a smaller or a cheaper overall device, it probably would have sold incredibly well. But because it has the same beautiful 1080p high refresh rate screen, it has the same really nice analog stick buttons, the same cooling system, I think that drove the cost of the device a lot higher than it probably could have been. If they just cheapened the whole thing down a little bit, you could have had like a $500, $450 device with the Z1 non-extreme and probably still had decent enough margins. But because they used the same tooling, the same housing, same everything as the Z1 Extreme version of the ROG Ally, probably held them back quite a bit. And the recent controversies of it hooking micro SD cards is certainly something that I now tend to tell people, don't get the ROG Ally. You don't want to burn up your micro SD cards, because it could hold incredibly precious save data that not every game supports cloud saves. Minecraft, I've lost so many worlds to that because of forgetting that it doesn't have cloud saves. It's ridiculous. And there's just so much more competition now for the ROG Ally than there ever was when it originally came out. There was just a bunch of Chinese companies and Valve who were making handhelds. Now there's some major competition on its way out and actively competing right now with this device that wasn't a problem for it before. But nevertheless, this is still a very cool device. I have plenty of friends who have one and who love it, and it's still just an incredibly cool device, and I can't wait for the ROG Ally 2 maybe at some point. Number 2 is a recent release, but I have now finally gotten my hands on one of these, and let's just say the OLED Steam Deck is so fucking cool and is probably the shining example of the best mid-generation refresh for a gaming handheld I've ever seen. Because yes, the OLED Switch was a really cool upgrade, but all it did was have new speakers, a kickstand, and a screen. That's basically it. The OLED Steam Deck has so many upgrades, so many cool new features, not to mention the increase in battery life, faster Wi-Fi. So many new features have come to the Steam Deck that it truly does make this a solid, one of the best times to get a Steam Deck it has ever been. The prices have gone down in some respects. The quality of the screen is amazing. The HDR experience is fantastic. It's 90 Hz, while not being super high refresh rate like some other devices we've talked about. It is still a much needed improvement compared to the original Steam Deck. And the new base model Steam Deck has 256 gigs of storage. And I think that is just an amazing upgrade for those who were going to go buy that base model. That base model is gotten even better of a deal as time goes on, with all these new handhelds coming out that are more and more expensive, or they're coming closer to the Steam Deck's price point. That base model still maintains its spot as probably a true value king in terms of comparing it to all the other handhelds. And not to mention the current $320 original base model for the 64 gigabyte. It is insane that you can get a Steam Deck for cheaper than an OLED Switch right now, which is boggles the mind. And it's so cool that the Steam Deck has seen this awesome support from all these game developers and Valve. I am so happy, and I can't wait for the Steam Deck 2, hopefully in like the next year and a half to 2 years or so. The last device I'm going to be talking about, which is number one, my most favorited device that has come out in 2023, is the Lenovo Legion Go. This thing is so fucking cool. While this isn't the cheapest device or the device that poses the greatest amount of value, you can get the same chip in the ROG Ally even, and this device is just so cool. It has so many extra features. Some of them I will never use, and that's partially why I didn't personally purchase this one, but I do have a lot of experience now with the device, saying if I didn't already own a Steam Deck, I would have purchased this one instead. This device is so interesting. It has so many unique features that really wouldn't benefit the next Steam Deck or a revision of the ROG Ally. The kickstand is fantastic. The screen is amazing. Not as good as the OLED Steam Deck because, you know what, it's OLED, it has HDR. This one, it's just IPS. It is just a really nice, IPS screen. It's 144 Hertz for some reason. It's 2560 by 1440, I think. I know it's some crazy high resolution that is ludicrous, that you'll never be able to play any games on it except maybe retro games on it with the Z1 Extreme it has. Truly insane screen specs. Being able to detach the controllers, much like a Switch, is a cool, fun feature. Being able to put the controller in gun mode as like a mouse is fucking crazy. Who would ever actually do that? But it's just such a shining example of the potential, the fun the industry is having with these gaming handhelds. And that's where it stands as number one on my list. It is just an amazingly fun device, and I think a good end cap to this list. Thanks for watching. What is your number one favorite handheld that has come out this year? I would love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All that other social media garbage down below. And don't forget to have a wonderful day. Deuces.